So please come and sit in swastikasana, just a loose cross-leg pose, just a crossing of the ankles. And then I'm sitting on a blanket just to make sure I've got a little bit of lift and support underneath the sit bones. Press down through the arms and the fingertips just to help get this sense of the ribs lifting or lengthening out of the side ribs out of the pelvis. And then draw the inner elbows together behind you, just slightly, so as to help draw the shoulder blades together. Careful though that doesn't cause you to push the chin forward. You want to think of the back of the head more or less in line with the sacrum. And then keep the lift that you have created in the spine and bring the palms together into namaskar asana, palms and fingers and thumbs just evenly making contact. And then please close the eyes to begin the class. And as you close the eyes, just draw the attention down to the lower part of the abdomen to make sure you're not gripping that area back. And think of your inhalations starting very low down in the area of the pelvis. And as you exhale, don't collapse the spine, but just think of the ribs softening down towards the pelvis. So just beginning to notice your normal in-breaths and your normal out-breaths. Think of the eyes softening, the jaw and the throat. Now keep the lift in the spine and the chest, but slowly nod the forehead in the direction of the fingertips. Keep the eyes closed as you release the palms to the knees, and on inhalation, slowly open the eyes and look up. So slight confession, I have tender hamstrings today. I think I was overdoing it yesterday, so that may show up in some of the work we're doing. But tonight is mostly focused on the hips, as it's the last class of the block. So staying in swastikasana, please bring your right arm out to shoulder height, roll the shoulder to help turn the palm towards the ceiling, and then extend the arm upwards. Just bring the fingertips of the other hand just to make contact with these tricep muscles, the outer upper arm muscles, just to remind them to roll in. And you're thinking of drawing them back to the bone as you release the other hand. Just be careful you've not tensed into the wrist or the hand, and think of pressing down or lengthening down into the sit bones, particularly the right sit bone, to help lengthen that side of the body. And then release that arm down by the side, bring the left arm to shoulder height, pause there just to make sure you're really including the rolling of the shoulder backwards to help turn the palm, and then extend the arm upwards. Again, just bring the fingertips of the other hand just to remind that flesh to cut in, and then release the hand, but just again draw the attention to the wrist and the hand, that you're not extending the hand back or tightening through the fist. Think of pressing down into both sit bones to really lengthen out of the pelvis, and then release that arm down by the side. And then once more bring the right arm up into Urdhva Hastasana arms. Think again of the length first, so you press down into the sit bones to lengthen the spine. Bring the other hand just to support you lightly on the floor, and think of this idea you're a slinky, those toys, you're going up and over so that you're avoiding collapsing in the waist. And then once you've gone up and over, think of just turning the breastbone to look towards the ceiling, the head and eyes too. And then breathe into those ribs on the right hand side. So you're just trying to expand those ribs outwards. And then in your next inhalation, reach up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, release that arm down by the side. Excuse me. And then bring your left arm to shoulder height. Always just pausing to make sure you're including that action in the shoulder blade as you extend the arm up. think again of rooting down into the sit bone, so you create the maximum length between space between each vertebrae. Other hand just supports you lightly, and remember you're going up and over like a slinky to the side. So the weight stays pretty much in both sit bones, you're not tipping over onto the one sit bone. And then as you breathe into those ribs on the left hand side, turn the head and eyes, just look up towards the ceiling underneath the arm. Again, breathe in to really try and open out that space between the ribs. And then on your next inhalation, reach up towards the ceiling and then release the arm down by the side. And then let's take that into a twist. So once more, you bring the right arm up in that same way. And now you begin to turn the breastbone towards the left thigh. Bring the right hand to the left outer knee, other hand just supports you. Now it's easy again to have tipped onto the one sit bone, so try and keep the weight evenly distributed. Push down into the sit bones to help lengthen through the crown of the head as you breathe in. And on your exhalation you can use the arms just to help improve that twist as you allow the head and eyes to look all the way on the horizon towards your left. And then breathe in to become taller, and then as you exhale return to the middle, and then we'll go to the other side. So left arm shoulder height, roll the shoulder, extend the arm up. Again, think of rooting down into the sit bones as you begin to take the twist to the right. Exhale, bring the right hand to the left outer knee, and just pause there to really check that you've not pushed out onto the right sit bone and turn this into a back bend. So you want to keep the weight evenly distributed, and you breathe in to become taller, so not just lifting the chin, so pressing down and rooting through the crown of the head. As you exhale, you follow the twist all the way to the right hand side, and then you breathe in to become taller again. Exhale, carefully come back to center. And then please just change the cross of the legs, still staying with a loose cross-leg pose, loose swastikasana. This time, press the palms down into the thighs. Once more, just as you're pressing down, think of the shoulder blades just drawing together slightly behind you, but don't overcook that. If you overcook it, it will tend to push the ribs forward. So we're just looking to open out the top part of the chest. And then bring the hands forward about shoulder height, interlace the fingers for Badanguliasana, turn the palms away, and now with your whole trunk, think of pushing the palms forward, and then you allow the arms to sweep up in an arc towards the ceiling. And then root down into the sit bones again, try to press them down as you draw the elbows together. And then think of just looking up, but the looking up is actually happening from the breastbone, lengthening up towards the palms. And then once you've created that full length in the front body, bring the head and eyes to look forward on the horizon. Check the jaw is soft, and your eyes, again, you're trying to see the periphery. So rather than focusing just on maybe the screen, letting the eyes focus on the periphery, to keep their eyes back and their head back. And then release the arms halfway down, change the interlace to your other interlace, so the other index finger comes on top. Turn the palms away, and then once more, this is a whole body event. Push the palms forward with the trunk, and then sweep the arms up towards the ceiling in an arc. Root down into the sit bones, so I press down into the sit bones. Think of that hook on the breastbone, just helping as you lift the chin up to look towards the palms. Once you've created that maximum length in the trunk, bring the head and eyes back onto the horizon. Again, you're trying to make sure it's a panoramic focus as opposed to picking on one particular spot. And then release the arms all the way down by the side. Good. And then please undo the legs and come to lie down on your back. So Nearly everybody, I would suggest, needs some kind of thinly folded blanket behind the back of the head and the neck, or a block might do the trick. The idea when you come to lie down on your back with the legs bent is that the head shouldn't be tipped back, and perhaps more importantly, it allows your ribs to settle down, that middle part of the back, which from standing, often those muscles are often overly contracted, overly working, allows those ribs to soften down to help release them. Now please bring your left arm up towards the ceiling, palm facing the midline to begin with, just up towards the ceiling, and then think of drawing the upper arm from the elbow to the shoulder joint. Draw that down towards the floor. So ideally your shoulder blade is heavy into the mat, and then keep the wrists and the hands soft. Take a breath in, and then think of those ribs, those sticky out ribs in the middle. Think of keeping them soft as you begin to extend the arm overhead on the floor behind you. Now, just to remind you, it's not about getting the thumb to the floor. It's much more important that you keep the back down. If you can keep the back heavy, it means that the shoulder mobility will improve, whereas if you just let the ribs push up to get the hand down, it means that you're actually improving your ability to back bend. So bring the arm back up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, release the arm down by the side. And let's try the right arm up towards the ceiling first of all. Your palm is facing the midline, hand and wrist soft, so arm long but soft. Draw the upper arm down towards the floor to feel that shoulder blade sitting, resting on the floor. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, think of those ribs softening as you extend the arm overhead. Soon as you feel the arm bending or the ribs lifting, then that's the place to stop. And then inhale, bring the arm back up towards the ceiling. Exhale, release it down by the side. And now let's try with Badanguliasana. Bring both arms up towards the ceiling. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms away. Now think again of taking a breath in, exhaling to engage the tummy, soften those ribs, so you're feeling the back heavy, and then begin to extend the arms overhead. It really doesn't matter how far these arms go. If they only go a little bit overhead, that's absolutely fine. If you respect what's happening to the back, then the opening in the shoulder will come. Whereas if you're just trying to force the hands overhead, then it won't work for the shoulders. Bring the arms back over the chest, change the interlace to your other interlace, turn the palms away, and then once more take a breath in and exhale to set the ribs and the tummy, and then begin to extend the arms overhead once more towards the floor behind you. Jaw nice and relaxed, vision as panoramic as possible, and then inhale, bring the arms back over the chest and release the interlace. Now fold both knees in towards the chest, and use your hands just to gently press the knees together, and then begin just to make a few small circles in space with the knees, just to help massage that lower back area towards the floor, and then reverse the direction of the circles. Good. And then pause. Keep the big toes together but separate the knees, so it's more like a frog position, and then just draw the right knee towards the right armpit, release, the left knee towards the left armpit, release. So just alternating one knee thigh towards one armpit and then the other, and then bring both knees towards both armpits. You'll probably feel the tailbone curling up away from the floor. I hope so, that's partly why we're doing it, just to help release some of those lower back muscles again as we draw the thighs in. Good. Now pause, bring the knees back together again, and then draw the knees in towards the head, and then take a breath in, look down and lift the head towards the knees, and try and bring the knees even closer to the forehead. That's it. And just breathe here. That's it. Elbows relaxed, jaw nice and relaxed. And then carefully put the head and shoulders back down once more. Take another breath in. As you exhale, pull the knees in towards the head. So once more, you'll feel the tailbone probably curling up off the mat. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, try and bring the forehead towards the knees. So not the chin, not the nose, it's the forehead to help lengthen through the back of the neck, and then carefully release the head and shoulders back down. Now keep hold of the right knee with the hands, and then just put your left foot down on the floor. And spend a moment just pulling in the lower tummy, softening those ribs down. So tummy is actually all engaged, but your back is heavy into the floor. Try and pull that right thigh in as close to you as comfortably as you can. So what we're doing there is really closing, flexing the right hip joint. The closer you get the thigh in towards you, and pull in the tummy. And once you've done that, then slowly begin to slide the left heel, left leg away from you on the floor. But you're really trying to keep the right thigh close in towards you, your tummy engaged, those ribs softening down, and then you get this delicious opening in that left groin, that left hip flexor. I can almost feel it like blue tack being asked to lengthen to do this. Now just squeeze, contract into your left buttock, and think of pulling the left heel down into the floor to increase the effect. Squeeze that left buttock, good, and then release. Bring the left heel back in towards you, and then fold the left thigh in towards the chest. Transfer the hands onto the left thigh first, left knee, pull it in close towards you, take a breath in, exhale, soften the ribs, pull in the tummy, and then put the right heel just down on the floor to begin with. And then slowly slide that right heel away, but keep that engagement of the tummy and the ribs, so you get that opening in the groin without the stretching out of the leg, pulling the lower back with it. And then once the right leg is long, try and push the calf into the heel, but not so much as to lift the heel. And then think of contracting into your right buttock, almost as if you're pulling that right leg down into the floor. But keep the left thigh pulled in close to you. Good. And then carefully bring the right leg back in, fold that leg, put the left foot back down onto the floor. Once more extend both arms up towards the ceiling. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms away. Now before you move the arms or the legs, take a good breath into the tummy, into the chest, and really exhale to empty. So you soften the ribs and pull the tummy in. So your back, you're pulling your back into the floor through the action of your flexor muscles, your abdominals. And once you've done that, then extend the arms overhead to where you can comfortably get them without disturbing the back. And then slide one leg away long. Go slowly. If you go too quickly, it will just pull the lower back with the leg. And then see if you can extend the other leg long too, but keeping that engagement of the ribs and the tummy. And if I do that properly, my hands don't touch the floor. They're a little bit lifted away from the floor because I'm maximally trying to contract in the abdominals and the ribs. Good. Now see if you can keep the work in the legs, the tummy and the chest. Bring the hands back over the chest. Change the interlace to the other interlace. Turn the palms away and then take another breath in. Exhale to empty. And then begin to extend the arms overhead. So traction action through the through the spine, through the action of the legs. So you're lengthening the spine. Good. And then bring the arms back over the chest. Release the interlace, and then fold one leg in, and then the other. So both knees are bent once more. Now, from here, fold your right leg in towards you, and this time interlace the hands behind the back of the thigh, and use your hands again to try and draw that thigh in as close to the body as is possible. And what that helps to do is release the upper part of the hamstrings near the sit bones, the part of my hamstrings that are giving me jip today. That's it. So you fold it in close, and then see, can you stretch the leg long up towards the ceiling and try and touch the heel towards the ceiling, and then fold the leg fully in towards you a second time, and then as you exhale again, try to touch the heel to the ceiling as you straighten the legs. And as you straighten the legs, try and suck the quadriceps from the knee down to the hip joint, into the bone, and then fold that leg in towards you a third time, and then again just try and touch the ceiling with the heel, but try to engage the quadriceps. So you're kicking the leg, you engage the quadriceps. Good. And now keep the leg long, and just see if you can make some circles on the end of the leg with the foot, pushing the heel away as part of those circles, but try and keep those quadriceps engaged, and then just reverse the direction of these circles. And you might feel, as you're just making these circles with the heel, there's a reverberation of this going on in the hip joint. Now pause with the leg long, the foot flexed, turn the leg out in the hip joint. So what I mean by that is try not to hike up the left hip as you do that. So you want to keep length in both sides of the waist, and then place the little toe side of the right foot to rest on top of the left thigh, and just pause there with this first one and check your pelvis is evenly weighted and you have length in both sides of the waist. And you can think of your right knee lengthening away from you, lengthening away from the right armpit. Take the leg back up towards the ceiling into parallel. See if you can turn it out again in the hip joint. Think of tree pose, those poses we do. Place the little toe side of this foot once more to rest on the left thigh. Push the right heel out to the left. Think of that knee lengthening away from the armpit, but not by side bending on the left hand side. You want to keep length in both sides of the waist. Take the leg back up towards the ceiling into parallel, trying to touch the ceiling with the heel. And then turn the leg out a third time and bring the foot once more to rest on the left thigh. So again, think of the right heel pressing out to the left, length in both sides of the waist, and your right knee is lengthening away from the right armpit. Have the arms just comfortably by the side, and then begin to tilt the legs off to the right, as if to bring the right thigh to the floor on the right, but keep your left shoulder heavy, and then as you exhale, bring the legs back to centre. So again, tilt the legs off to the right. You think of the right thigh moving away all the time from the armpit, but careful again, this hasn't suddenly become a back bend. So you need to keep the tummy engaged, the ribs softening. It's very easy if you'll see me on the screen, just to let the lower back push forward, trying to resist that, and then come back to centre. And then once more, tilting the legs to the right, and then exhale, come back to centre. Now keep this configuration of the legs, but begin to tilt them off to the left, as if to bring the right foot to touch the floor on the left, but all the time think of that right knee lengthening away from you, but not by pushing the lower back forward. So you need to keep those ribs soft and the tummy engaged, and then come carefully back to centre. 2 more to the left, inhaling, inhaling, exhaling, come back to centre, and once more inhaling to the left, and then exhale, come back to centre, and now go once to the right, come to the middle, and then once to the left, come to the middle, all the time keeping some engagement of the tummy and the ribs, all the time thinking of that knee lengthening away from you to get the opening in the hip. Now pause in the centre, take a breath in. As you breathe out, tummy in, bring the legs in towards you as a piece, and then lift the head and shoulders. Try and interlace the hands behind the back of the left thigh or over the head of the left shin, and then try to bend the elbows to bring those legs in close towards you, keeping the right heel pressing out to the side. I'm only kind of grimacing, well, smiling, because I'm definitely feeling that tightness in the right hand side. And then see if you can rest the head and shoulders back down, bring the chin in slightly, and just see if you can breathe in to any areas of tightness or of a restriction in that right hip. Now if you want to be extra brave, just make some small circles in space with the left knee, and then just reverse the direction of those circles. Good. And then release. So just take a rest with the legs down for a moment. So I mentioned I overdid it. I went for a big walk on Sunday and did my practice yesterday, and I overdid it with some of the hamstring work. Maybe you've got a similar ache. And my philosophy is if I have a restriction like that, I'm still going to work that area, but just stay short. So I'm teasing out movement, but I'm not trying to develop length or anything like that. But I definitely want to visit those areas. Otherwise, that kind of niggling is going to turn into a shortening. So that's my philosophy. So you're just working to wherever you're feeling this evening, to the edge, and then just try and breathe there. Let's do the other side. So fold the left thigh in towards you, interlace the hands around the back of the left thigh, and just spend a moment trying to pull that thigh in close. See if you can feel what that does. It closes the left hip joint as you bring the thigh into the body. And then see if you can just stretch the leg up towards the ceiling long, drawing the toes down towards you to lengthen out the calf muscles. I can feel them too tonight. Fold the leg back in towards you a second time. As you exhale, press the leg to try and touch the heel towards the ceiling, and then fold it in towards you a third time, and then as you exhale, press it up towards the ceiling, drawing the toes down towards you. Now think of engaging the quadricep muscles, so sucking them back to the bone, and then keep the leg long and see if you can make these circles with the foot on the end of the lower leg. I've got a click then, which is good, and then just reverse the direction of those circles, trying to push the heel away when it least wants to push away. Now pause with the leg in parallel, turn the leg out. Again, you can use your hands to help you place the little toe side of the left foot on the right thigh, but now just check that you haven't tilted the pelvis so it's heavier on the left side, or shortened on the right side. Both those things have happened for me, so I need just to think, how can I correct that by lengthening down through the right side and bringing weight to bear on the right hand side of the pelvis too. And then take the leg back up towards the ceiling into parallel, turn the leg out, place it once more, the left foot on the right thigh, just checking those asymmetries, and then for a third time take it back up towards the ceiling, turn it out once more in the hip joint, place the foot on the right thigh, and then once you've addressed the asymmetries, try and press the left heel out to the right. So you're keeping the heel active, and what that does is then it means we're targeting some of those hip rotator muscles there. So now once you've done that, begin to tilt the legs off to the left, thinking of the left thigh coming to the floor but the right shoulder being heavy, tummy engaged, and then come back to centre, and then 2 more like that. Just nice easy breathing, just checking you're not pushing that lower back forward, and then come back to centre, and then once more over to the left, and then come back to centre. And now begin to take the legs as they are to the right, thinking all the time of that left knee going away from you, so you can press the foot into the thigh to help you, but careful you're not just pushing the lower back forward, and then come back to centre. 2 more like that. Easy breath in, exhale, come back to centre, and once more easy breath in to the right, and then come back to centre. And now see if you can take the legs to the left, come back, and then to the right, just exploring both directions. That's it, to the one side and then towards the other side, keeping the head more or less in the middle. And then pause with the legs in the centre. Try to lift the legs in as a unit towards you. Lift the head and shoulders to try and interlace behind the back of the right thigh or around the head of the shin. Just try and keep that left heel engaged as you bend the elbows to bring the legs closer towards you, and then once they're in as close as they can be, release the head and shoulders back down, keeping the chin tucked in. So you're looking down at your legs rather than up at the ceiling behind you. And just breathe here, breathe. You can just play with pushing that heel out a little bit more to the side to make sure you're targeting the right area, and then just see if you can make small circles in space with the right knee. Small circles, easy breathing, and then just reverse the direction of those circles. Good. And then pause, carefully undo, bring both feet down. Good. Just take a rest for a moment, and then cross your right leg over the left. So good Kenny Everett cross of the thighs, and then take a breath in. As you breathe out, pull in the tummy, soften those ribs, and then lift the legs in as a unit towards you. Try to lift the head and shoulders to take hold just above the ankles, and you just try and bend the elbows out to the side to bring the knee and the nose as close as you can comfortably bring them. And once the knees are as close to the nose as they're going to be, then release the head back down onto the support. Again, try and look down at the knees rather than at the ceiling or the ceiling behind you. Good. Keep breathing. Try to keep the elbows bending out to the side. Well, see if you can, wherever you're feeling a slight resistance, see if you can just send the breath there to let that release. And then undo, put the feet back down on the floor, change the cross of the legs so your left is crossed over right. Again, before you lift the legs, take a breath in, and as you breathe out, pull in the tummy, soften those ribs down so you've stabilised the back, and then when you lift the legs in towards you, it'll be easier. you're not suddenly going into a back bend. Lift the head and shoulders, try and take hold above the ankles, and try then to bend the elbows out to the side so the knee approaches the tip of your nose and the nose the knees, and then once they're as close as they possibly can be, release the head and shoulders back down on the floor. Again, look down at the knees, that will help to lengthen the neck, and just breathe here. Think of the elbows bending out to the side all the time, and you might suddenly find, oh, something you were holding suddenly lets go. Your idea, that's it, just letting things soften. And then carefully undo the legs, put the feet back down on the floor, and then take hold of your belt. Going to do the Supta 1, 2 and 3 series tonight. So take hold of your belt. You don't need a loop in the belt. And once you have your belt to hand, fold your right thigh back in towards you again and put the belt around the arch or the ball of the foot. So you have a strand of the belt in either hand to begin with. Draw the thigh in close towards you first, and then from that folded in position, think of stretching the leg long up towards the ceiling. Now, again, if you are more flexible and are tempted to pull the foot over the head, don't do that. Please resist that temptation. The reason for that is the more the foot comes towards the head, it will tend to curl the tailbone off the floor. So you want to try and keep your sacrum, tailbone, towards the floor. Good. And then slide the hands down the belt till your elbows make contact into the ground. And when they do make contact, just use that to help tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body. And now with the action on the leg, if you aren't flexible, can't get the leg towards the ceiling, just have it angled away. Wherever the leg is, it is straight and actively straight. So again, you think of those quadricep muscles, the ones at the front of the thigh, drawing those back to the bone and down towards the floor. The more you can engage those quadriceps, the more it will help your hamstrings to release. They're antagonist muscles. When one contracts, the other tends to release. Now use the belt to try and draw the ball of the foot down towards the body, and think of the big toe side of the foot pressing up into the belt, and then you use the outside strand of the belt to help draw the little toe side of the foot down to the outer knee. Good. Just breathing here, Supta Padangusthasana 1, and then if you can, lengthen your left leg slowly away from you on the floor, but not at the expense of letting the lower back arch. So if it only goes a little bit, that's better than have it taking you into a back bend. Just breathe here in Supta Padangusthasana 1 with the other leg extended. That other leg is active, other leg's buttock, squeeze the left buttock. And then if you can, take hold of the belt with your right hand as close to the right foot as is possible. Now, once you've taken hold of the belt as close to the foot, keep the hand where it is and think of drawing your right shoulder back to the floor. So if you weren't feeling any hamstring work before, I can almost guarantee you will be now. Even though that right shoulder may not get to the floor, you have a sense of drawing it back to the floor. Keep breathing. Take your left arm out to the side for a bit of counterbalance, and imagine someone is standing with their foot on the left side of your pelvis. To keep that side down, and see if you can begin to take the right leg off to the right, but as it's going to the right, keep pulling it in the direction of the head. Keep it active, keep the quadricep active, keep the foot active, so you're not looking to roll off to the right, your torso stays exactly as it is, and then we get this delicious opening in the groin. So feels like Trikonasana, doesn't it? As you're taking the leg off to the side, and then bring the leg back towards the ceiling. Swap hands, so your left hand takes hold of the belt as close to the foot as is possible. Your right hand goes out to the side for a bit of counterbalance. And now this time begin to direct the right leg off to the left, but towards the head more than towards the floor. And you can feel how the right side of the pelvis comes with the leg, but don't let it turn into a roll. Think of drawing the right outer knee to the outer hip, the right outer hip. That's it, good. And then bring the leg back to centre, carefully undo, and just let the legs go long for a second. Feel how that right leg, right side of the body feels to the left. Feel a bit longer on that side. Now, just have a look at something for a moment. I just want to explain something about that last variation, Supta Padangusthasana 3. So, just as with when we do arm work, you hear me saying draw the upper arm back to the shoulder. So you connect the arm into the shoulder joint. It's very easy when you're doing Supta Padangusthasana 3, I'll see if I can show it from this side, to kind of let the leg go and the kind of the heel shoot up towards the ceiling, which is losing the connection of the leg into the hip joint. So you heard me say draw the outer knee to the outer hip, so it keeps the leg connected into the hip joint, as opposed to losing that action in the hip. So in other words, you're keeping this in the leg as opposed to letting it do that in the leg as you take it off to the side. Let's do that series with the other leg. So start with both legs folded, both feet on the floor. Fold your left leg in towards you and put the belt around the ball or the arch of the left foot. Have a strand in either hand to begin with, and before straightening the leg, pull the thigh in as close to you as you possibly can. So we close again that left hip joint, and then you extend the leg up towards the ceiling, or away from you if that's where it has to be straight. Resist the temptation to pull the foot towards the chest and the head. So you slide the hands down the belt till the elbows make contact in the floor. Use that just as an opportunity to help tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body, and just spend a moment really thinking about the action in this left leg. So again, quadriceps engaged, sucking them back to the bone and down towards the hip joint. Pull the ball of the foot towards the head, and think of the big toe side of the foot just extending into the belt, but the little toe side of the foot draws down to the outer knee and that outer hip joint to help suck the femur head into the ball and socket joint. And then once you've done that, slowly begin to lengthen out your right leg, but slowly, because too quickly and it will tend to pull the lower back forward, and we're trying to resist that. So both legs are super active. Contract the right buttock as if you're pulling the right leg down into the floor. Just breathe here in Supta Padangusthasana 1, and then take hold of the belt with your left hand as close to the foot as you can. Once you've taken hold, don't let the hands slide on the belt, but try and draw the right shoulder back to the floor. And suddenly those hamstrings are being tested. So breathe, breathe, breathe. And then think someone has got their foot, they're stamping the right side of your pelvis down as you take the left leg off to the leg, but in the direction of the head. So it doesn't have to get anywhere near the floor, doesn't matter at all. It's much more about keeping the right side of the pelvis down, the right side of the chest down, and the foot going more towards the head. Keeping the foot active in the same way, big toe side reaching into the belt, little toe side drawing to the outer knee and the hip. Carefully bring that leg back to the vertical. So again, just feel big toe into the belt, little toe side drawing down to the outer hip. Swap hands so that your right hand takes hold of the belt as close to the foot as you can. Left arm goes out to the side for a bit of counterbalance. So you're trying to keep that action in the leg and the foot as the leg begins to go off to the right this time. Keep the little toe side of the foot drawing down to the outer hip, to the outer knee, outer hip. It'll be very different feeling in the hip muscles, and keep pulling that foot in the direction of the head. It's not about it going to the floor. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Good. And then carefully come back to center. Release the belt. Bend both knees to bring both feet on the floor. That's it, just to see how that was. So that has helped to stretch or lengthen some of your outer hip muscles. We're going to go for those now for another time. So cross your right leg over the left. Have the arms out to the side, just below the line of the shoulders, palm towards the ceiling. Lift up your pelvis and move it an inch or so to the right and put it down. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, let gravity take the legs off to the left. Keep the tummy pulled in though, and try to reach through your right shoulder, right arm, out to the right as gravity is taking the legs to the left. And then just breathe here. Breathe, breathe, breathe. It might be the ribs that need to soften. It might you might be feeling it more there. Just breathe, breathe, breathe. And then on your next, take a breath in. On your next exhalation, bring the legs back to center. Put the pelvis back in the middle. And then change the cross of the leg. So it's your left leg crossed over right. Pick the pelvis up, move it an inch or so to the left and put it down. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, let gravity take the legs off to the right. And as they're going to the right, think of your left shoulder, your left arm, reaching out on the floor to the left to make sure this is a twist. Good. Strong twist, knees going to the right, arm, chest spiraling off to the left, and then just breathe here. Breathe into the tummy, breathe into the chest, just see can you create space with the breath. And then after your next inhalation, breathe out, bring the legs back to center, undo the legs, good, and then just rest for a moment. And then please come and lie on your front. Good. Have your legs just a little bit apart. You can rest the forehead on the backs of the hands. And just as you come onto the front, it's very, again, if you just look at me on the screen, it's very easy to push the tummy into the floor and lift the tailbone, meaning that we're closing in the hip joints. So really try and press your pubic bone down into the surface. So to help you, squeeze the buttocks together to really help press the pubic bone, as opposed to the middle belly, which just arches the lower back. Try to press the pubic bone into the mat. Squeeze the buttocks together. Good. And then bring the arms down by your side, palms facing the ceiling. Forehead just rests on your blanket or the ground. And then press the backs of the hands into the floor to help lift and roll the shoulders down the back. And then think of lifting, hovering the hands by the hips, as if you've got 2 cans of baked beans in the hands, and lengthen and lift both legs at the same time as you just lift the head, just to look a little bit beyond the edge of your mat for Salambhasana or locust pose. That's it. So pubic bone, keep that pressing down, and then carefully release, let the forehead come back down. Let the shoulders drop towards the floor, and then once more press the backs of the hands into the mat. That helps to lift and roll the shoulders down the back. And then think of lengthening the legs, lifting them just an inch or so off the floor as you hover the hands by the hips. You're trying to touch the feet with the fingertips as you just lift the head to look a little bit beyond the end of your mat for Salambhasana. Just extending using all the back muscles, the extensor muscles, hamstrings and gluteals. Good. And then release. Just bring the hands underneath the forehead, and then just roll the pelvis and the chest a little bit from one side to the other. And each time you're rolling the pelvis into the middle, try to roll into the pubic bone. That's it. As you're just rolling from side to side. So we're trying to avoid sending this into the lower back. Now bring the hands by the chest, curl your toes under, think of lifting your tummy first back to the spine, push through the arms to come up onto all fours, so onto the hands and knees. Keep the shoulders away from the ears, so on all fours position. And then just take a breath in, and as you breathe out, round the back up towards the ceiling as you release the head to look underneath yourself. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, try and push the lower tummy towards the pubic bone to just gently extend the spine. So in other words, don't just drop and dump the tummy and the ribs towards the floor. Try to keep them gathered in. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, release the head as you pull the ribs in, pull the tummy in, as though you're being lifted up from your middle, belts wrapped around you, lifting you up towards the ceiling. Inhale, and then exhale to slowly reverse that. Now come to a middle neutral position. Have your knees shoulder width apart, bring the big toes together, and then just sit the bottom back towards the heels, and then stretch the arms forward as you release the head down towards the floor for Adho Mukha Shavasana. Just breathe here, keep the arms active, keep pushing the floor away from you, keep pushing the mat away from you. Good. And then look forward. Come back onto all fours, and then lift the right side of the pelvis, swing that knee forward between the hands. If you need blocks to put the hands on, that's absolutely fine. Just check that your shin is vertical, your right shin is vertical, and that you're not pushing out into the outer hip, so keep that outer hip gathered in. Curl your back toes under, and then without lifting the pelvis, can you stretch that back leg away from you? Keep the tummy pulled in, the ribs softened and engaged. That's it. As you reach that back heel away from you to open the back of the knee. Bring the back knee down, take your right leg back, and then we'll do the other side. So you lift the left side of the pelvis, swing the left foot forward between the hands, curl your back toes under, and without lifting the pelvis, can you stretch that back leg away from you? Try to reach that heel to touch the floor behind you, and then you can imagine there's a hook on your breastbone, just trying to lengthen the front of the body forward as that heel reaches away from you. Good. And then carefully release, bring both knees back down, Now, if you have your blanket to hand, just have your knees shoulder width apart, bring the big toes together, just sit the bottom back towards the heels, and with a thinly folded blanket, so really if you need to open out your blanket, do that, thinly folded blanket, just pull that in so it's at the hip crease, so my knees are shoulder width apart, not too wide, just shoulder width apart, have the blanket resting at the roots of the thighs, good, and then see if you can just fold forward again, bring the hands to the floor, that's it for Adho Mukha Shavasana, just using the folded blanket to help really round the lower back. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And then look forward, walk the hands back towards you. We can still put the blanket to good use. I'm going to sit on it now, and then please come and sit facing the front. Actually, you don't need to sit on anything for this next bit. Just have the soles of the feet facing each other, but not too close. We're not doing Baddha yet. We are going to be doing it, but just have the soles of the feet facing each other. And then take hold of your, I'm going to mirror now, take hold of your left foot with the left hand. So you can either take hold of the big toes with the first and second fingers, or you can take hold of the outside edge of the foot. If that's too challenging for you, you can hold on to your ankle. You can also do this with a belt wrapped around the foot. Do the same kind of thing. So, but assuming that you can reach to take hold of the foot, just first of all try and sit nice and tall, and then just lean over to the right, and then come back to centre. So you're just leaning over to the right, and then come back to centre. Now, I say leaning over, but actually we're not doing this. We're trying to keep the head and eyes looking on the horizon. So you just lean over onto the right, keeping the head and eyes up. So what that means is these ribs have to soften to help you do that, to bring the weight onto the right sit bone, and then we come back onto two sit bones. So you're just leaning over, head and eyes focused on the prize, and then come back to centre. And then lean over and see if you can lift the left foot, and then come back to centre, and then lean over and lift the left foot, and then can you bring the knee to the inside of the elbow, and then to the outside of the elbow, coming back onto two sit bones. So you lean over, bring the knee to the inside of the elbow, and then to the outside of the elbow to come onto two sit bones. So once more, leaning over, we're internally rotating the thigh, and then we're externally rotating the thigh to come onto two sit bones. It's magic. So again, inside the elbow, and then outside the elbow to come onto two sit bones. Good. And then the next time, can you take the knee to the inside of the elbow and take the foot more or less back to its own bottom, and then can you come and sit more or less on two sit bones. Very, very difficult to sit on two sit bones. And then lean over and bring the foot forward again. Good. And then pause. Can you switch hands? So right hand on the right foot. Can you lean over, keeping the head on the horizon, to bring the weight onto the left sit bone, and then come back to two sit bones. So just leaning over to bring the weight onto the left sit bone, the right sit bone becomes light, and then you come onto two sit bones. And then lean over. Can you lift the foot and bring the knee to the inside of the elbow, and then to the outside of the elbow? So leaning over, bringing the knee to the inside of the elbow, and then to the outside of the elbow. And again, so we're internally rotating this thigh in the hip joint, and then we're externally rotating it to come onto two sit bones. Good. And then once more just leaning over, internally rotating, and then just see, can you bring the foot to its own buttock and then try and sit on two sit bones. So a magical position this, with one side sitting, one leg externally rotated, one leg internally rotated. It's the foundational movement, many of you know from my other classes, from all sorts of transitions. This is a fundamental kind of ABC position that we should be able to get into and out of fairly easy. Now lean over and bring the foot back to join the other one. Now I'm going to sit on a little bit of support, now that we've explored that mobility in the hip joints. And then see, this time, can you bring the soles of the feet together and bring the heels in as close to the perineum or pubic bone as possible. Now take hold, if you can, of the big toes with the first and second fingers of each hand, and you wrap the fingers around the big toes. And then if you try to press the little toe sides of the feet into each other, so that soles of the feet open up towards the ceiling, and you can see and perhaps feel yourself what that does. It gets a little bit more movement in the hip joints, so the knees go lower to the floor. And to help with that, you can pull on the big toes with the arms and try and present your chest between the upper arms, to trying to pull yourself forward as you're pressing the little toe sides of the feet into each other. So strong opening for those inner thigh muscles, strong openings. Those inner thigh muscles often get quite short because we sit so often, the legs are held in a certain position all the time, so it's a big challenge for those inner thigh muscles. Good. Now just let go of that a little bit and extend your left leg forward. So the right foot stays where it is, but you can just bring that heel a little bit, the right heel a little bit closer to its own sit bone, so that right knee begins to lengthen down towards the floor. Other leg, left leg, stays active. You're on the centre of the back of the heel, thigh muscles engage there. And then bring the arms forward, interlace the palms for Badanguliasana, a whole body event to reach forward, and then take the arms up towards the ceiling. Try to press the palms up towards the ceiling as you push the sitting bones down into the earth. Good. And then separate the hands as you turn to the right to bring the left hand onto the right thigh, other hand behind you, and think of breathing in to become taller. As you exhale, turn all the way towards the right. Good. And then carefully come back to centre. Bring the left leg back in to Baddhanasana. Interlace the fingers around the balls, around the big toes. Press the little finger sides into each other. Try and pull the chest forward. And then slowly extend the right leg. As you extend that leg, just draw the right heel in as close to its sit bone as possible. And keep your right leg active on the centre of the back of the heel, quadriceps engaged. And then bring the arms forward, interlace the palms for Badanguliasana, turn the palms away and think of coming forward. Whoa, those hamstrings. Stretch the arms up towards the ceiling, create that length, press the buttock, the sit bones down, separate the hands as you turn towards the left, bring the right palm onto the left thigh, other hand behind you, and think of growing taller through the crown of the head, taller down into the sit bones. As you exhale, take the twist towards the left. Easy breathing, still trying to keep the weight on both sit bones, not perched onto onto one sit bone, good, and then carefully come back to centre. So bring yourself back into Padkonasana once more. Take hold of the big toes again, press the little toe sides of the feet into each other as you try and present the chest between the thighs, good. And then extend one leg out to the side and then the other leg out to the side for Upper Vista Konasana. So we're on the centre of the backs of both heels, both legs active. So thigh muscles drawing back to the bone, extending the calves into the heels, and the feet are active in the way that we've been looking at. So big toe side extending away, little toe side drawing down to the back to the outer knee and the outer hip. Good. And then bring the arms forward, interlace the hands for Badanguliasana, push the space away from you, extend the arms up towards the ceiling. So sit bones rooting down, legs extending out to the side, palms extending up towards the ceiling. Look up towards the hands, think of that breastbone helping you to lengthen the front body, bring the head and eyes to look forward onto the horizon. And then separate the hands, so the left hand comes to the floor in front of you, right hand behind you. Try and turn the chest, the breastbone, to look towards the right thigh. Easy breathing, easy breathing. Now if you can, bring your left hand onto the right thigh, go carefully, and just see if you can stroke it along the outside of that right thigh. And you can look forward as you do that, or you can look down as you do that. Good. And then carefully come back to the centre. Bring the arms forward, interlace the fingers for Badanguliasana, turn the palms away, go forward to go up, create length, separate the hands as you turn the breastbone to look towards your left thigh, just breathe there. And then can you bring your right hand to the outside of the left thigh, and just think as though you're polishing the leg towards the foot. The other hand can just push to help you a little bit to reach. Good. And then carefully release. Bring the legs back together into Padkonasana. Good. And then this time come into Swastikasana, but a tight Swastikasana, so the feet creep underneath the thighs, rather than just being the ankles crossed. Try and press the heels out to the side. Good. Running out of time. And then just change the cross of the legs. Got so much more in that for hips. We'll save that for another time. Just change the cross of the legs in Swastikasana. And then please undo and come and lie down in Shavasana. So if you have a bolster, it'd be nice to have the bolster underneath the backs of the knees or the backs of the legs after all that hip work. If you are lucky enough to have a wall near you, you can always put your legs up a wall. If you have a chair or a sofa next to you, you can always have the lower legs resting on the seat of the sofa or an armchair. But otherwise, come and lie down in Shavasana, just making sure you've got enough clothing to keep your body temperature up, but you're not going to lose that. And if you have a blanket, make sure it's underneath the head and the neck, that it doesn't creep underneath the shoulders, pushing those forward. Think if you have your legs long over a bolster or on the floor, just think of the big toe sides of the feet rolling to the little toe sides of the feet. You can use your thumbs just to encourage the buttock flesh to move towards the backs of the knees to make sure the lower back is down. And then you have your arms just a little bit out to the side for Shavasana, palms towards the ceiling. Once the arms are there, just press the elbows down into the floor to help you tuck the shoulder blades into the back of the body. If you wear glasses, it's a good idea to take them off, and then you can think of just tucking the chin in slightly to make sure you have that length in the back of the neck. Whichever version of the Shavasana pose you've chosen, once you've settled the outer frame of the pose, then close your eyes and begin to draw your attention to your breath, beginning to notice your inhalations and your exhalations. You can almost think that you're drawing the breath into you through the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands. Allowing each inhalation to fill you from top to bottom, from side to side, from front to back. Softening the eyes and the jaw, the throat. Slowly begin to wriggle the fingers and toes. And then if you're using a bolster, just bring bend the knees, bring the feet onto the bolster, or just bend the legs if you haven't got a bolster. And then just draw the thighs in towards the chest and the armpits again, as we did at the beginning. Just a few times, just gently drawing in and releasing, to help release that lower back area. And then when you've done that, come to lie on whichever side's available to you and just rest on the side for a moment before you lift up. And then use your hands to support you to transfer your weight up to sitting without, if possible, holding the breath. And then come and sit easy cross-legged again, just facing the front. Though, touch wood, my hamstrings are feeling better than I started. Hope yours are okay too. Bring the palms into namaskar, close the eyes, keep the chin down. Bring the forehead down. Release the hands. On an inhalation, slowly open the eyes and look up. Thank you very much, everybody.